We'll begin the caucus at 6:32, and hopefully the other folks that need to be here will be shortly. I believe we've got a few outstanding issues here that, for this evening. First of all, they were supposed to do I'm not sure who it was, but somebody organized a prayer vigil. So,
Hi, and you are where?
not too many folks have showed up, so Mr. Ron Jackson will
Okay, bye.
take care of that
All
with
right,
his
bye.
invocation. Also, we had two lovely, Mayor and Chief, we have two lovely ladies who called this afternoon and said that we really appreciate what you do, and we wanted to do something nice. So they baked and asked if they could put coffee on. So I think I'll just announce it at the beginning of the meeting and say, you're welcome to nibble, whatever. Otherwise, we'd be here in between and back. Another one stopped the meeting to have snacks, so people can wander around and do whatever. Okay, if that's all right. If you have a better idea, you're welcome to suggest it. I do not really refuse. We do have the public hearing tonight, which this is for the amending the charter for the planning and zoning issue. The Hertz. This is the Hertz issue. And again, this has been going on for weeks and weeks and months. So, hallelujah, it is finally here. And with that, we will close the coach back and then go on to communications. And the communications will be read by Kathy. And that's all that you heard at the planning and zoning meeting if you were there. We're going to hear it again.
No, because on February 4th, we will have a public hearing for this portion of the zoning change. And it will have to be read in the public hearing.
Okay. We're moving ahead. Okay. Yes.
Just one thing with Hertz
Yes.
and the other zoning changes that we're talking about on Broadway. I want to caution that it would be good if we had, who's going to determine the sizes on lots on Broadway that coincide with it.
This doesn't include Broadway at all.
This one.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
It doesn't.
I'm going to get to where I'm going here.
Okay.
The lots that we're talking about on Broadway for used car sales, if they don't coincide with the size of the lot of Hertz on Warrensville, if you try to make the ones on Broadway bigger, somebody's going to come up and say, why do I have to be bigger than the one that you just passed with Hertz on Warrensville? So the thing I'm saying is, it would be nice if those two things were coincided with each other.
You mean you want a standardized lot size for every single company that comes in? Is that what you're saying?
If you don't, what's to keep a little tiny one that we was trying to keep away from? So if you was going to make the lot big enough so that you don't have little tiny mom and pop, it would have to be big enough. But if you don't allow one as big or less than Hertz, somebody's going to say, why does mine have to be that big or as big as? That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Can I?
Go ahead and explain.
The only thing I want to say real quick is that the Planning and Zoning Commission was going to talk about the Broadway area, the BCO and used car lots, and that is one of the suggestions somebody made, that there would be a standardized lot size.
So at that point, you might want to attend and voice your opinion. That's coming up when?
Well, we're not even talking about the BCO yet, we're doing this one.
Okay, so it'll be probably after February at that point.
Just trying to ward off
Okay.
what I see as a
No, I think
potential
that-
issue.
I think planning and zoning is pretty aware of what needs to be done. They really into this whole. There are no other committee reports, just the committee of the whole. Nobody else has had anything? 2014-87 is the budget. This is the third reading, and we will be voting on that. 2014-88 is the contract. Oh, I'm sorry.
I got a couple questions
Okay,
to deal with that.
okay.
And I'd like to, Irene's not here, maybe the mayor can answer. Can I address the mayor?
Go ahead.
Mayor, in the budget, you added in our REIM appropriations for the senior center.
Correct.
Now, I heard rumors throughout the city that it wasn't enough money and there's going to be layoffs at the food pantry and kitchen help and a bus driver. Is that true?
Well, the food pantry was being looked at, but I think enough money has come in through donations so far that we can keep that person there. And then the other two, we're still looking at them. They may have to go. We're seeing how the donations come in. It's a possibility. I can't say for sure because I don't know how much money's coming in donations.
So the money, the donations can be used to stop the layoffs?
Well, it did help stop the food pantry layoff, yes.
And if any more comes, that could stop the kitchen help and the bus
Right.
driver.
And there's a possibility too that someone could come over from City Hall and help in the morning pack food. And, you know, I've offered the services of my AA who used to work in the rec department to come over and help out in the kitchen a couple hours in the morning. So, you know, we're trying to plug the leaks. I know you know what that's like.
Yeah.
Madam Chair. And this is a...
Are you done?
Now, on them layoffs, Linda mentioned that Benjamin Rose, that they came in and looked and said that the senior center was supposed to be operating as is, that like it is now, without any layoffs. Would they still be interested if the layoffs occur?
Well, they can always call the person back if they get laid off. It might not be a very long layoff. It might only be a week or two. Or maybe it might be a month. I mean, we've had that situation happen before. You know, my AA in my office was laid off for a week from the rec department, and then he started a week later. So, it can happen.
Okay. Mr. Jackson, you had a question?
Yeah, and I was just going to, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure somebody, this is a temporary budget subject to revisions before the end of March. Okay.
What it says.
So, yeah,
Budget.
right. So things that we see now in here that we may approve or disapprove of are subject to change. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Would you like to comment on that before we move on?
Yes, I'd just like to pass out the ones that we received today. All the information.
Thank you.
I do.
Everyone has copies?
Yes,
if I may.
yes, please go ahead.
Okay, I passed out the revised estimated resources and the appropriations. I highlighted them in this little light colored, salmon colored line, the changes from last time. Can you see it? It may be faint. It's a little pinkish looking color.
You got it.
Okay. So we can start with the revenue, the estimated resources. At the top, for the, there was a change of the estimated RETA. Like I said before, I had taken everything way down just because. So I had a couple $100,000 to the RETA. The intergovernmental revenue, $56,000, which was not there before. And that's a new information that we received. And then on page 5, the last page, the last page, I added the $12,000 there. It should have been labeled fundraiser from the senior. So that's what's projected, at least I know that Mrs. Bopat has a higher goal, but the 12,000 is what I think we'll probably get by the end of the year. So those are the revenue changes, $268,000. And on page 2, I highlight the change, of course, in the general fund. And it went up $256,000 because the other $12,000 is on the last page. So those were the changes in the revenue. We pretty much discussed all the others last time. Are you ready to move on?
Yes, go ahead.
The Intergovernmental Revuenues. What is that?
That's really money that we get from the state. If you remember the millions of dollars that Kasich cut back in 2011, what we have coming in now is about $56,000. They just posted that on the web, the $56,000. So that's pretty much the money that we're getting from the state. The local government comes from the county, the $720,000.
So is this money that we didn't get last year?
You know what, last year, I'm thinking that it may have been included in the local government. Like I say, I did not go back and audit last year. These numbers were just pulled from the financial statements. So it may have been combined into that number. So there was some money, right now I just can't tell you how much, but I'm assuming that it may have been combined in maybe the local government or one of the other line items or miscellaneous or something.
Okay, do we have any further questions on this budget? This is the third reading tonight, so now's your opportunity. And again, it's a temporary budget, so we have a deadline of December 31st, which means that we need to pass it tonight.
Can I tell a joke or have another meeting?
Pardon me? No, I'm not going to have another meeting. No.
I said a joke, so.
No.
But that was another reading. You said we had to.
Yes. Okay, 2014 dash, oh, I'm sorry.
Is there a line?
Okay, I'll do the expenditures.
Line dispatch center?
Yes?
Where would that be?
It was, well, the total dispatch is right here. Right here.
Okay, I did not go over the appropriations yet. Did you want me?
Okay, you wanted to add those tonight?
I mean, I didn't know if they wanted me to explain. I passed out the revenue and I passed out the appropriations.
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, appropriations. Same little colored lines. So the first change is on page 1. The $597,000, that's the proposed amount that the city will contribute to the dispatch center. That changed, the last number we had was like 516,000. So the budget changes almost every week. So that's the first change that you see on page 1.
Who dropped out, or why is there a change?
Because the budget, they're not finished with the budget. They
Oh,
keep-
okay.
you know.
Yeah, they don't know what they're doing.
Not yet. Yep.
You think?
When do
Oh,
we
yes, I
need
have
to
faith.
know in order for this to start up? Does this start up January 1st?
No,
No, it's been delayed, was delayed until January 22nd again, and now it appears to be delayed maybe even past February the 1st, they're not sure, but it's just one delay after another. It's one addition problem with more expenditures after another. As it stands right now, we're waiting to see if we're even going to go into this thing. That's questionable at this point.
Haven't we signed a contract
No.
stating that we will? No, no contract
It's
at
a
all.
letter of intent. I don't think it was an actual contract.
Any money that we spent, did we spend any money?
I believe we did for the hiring of the salary of the administrator who's been working, but currently they want us to pay 29%, Garfield Heights to pay 26%, Bedford would pay 23%, Bedford Heights would pay 22%. So my counter to them was everyone pays 25%. And the mayor of Garfield Heights supports that, and he'll pay 25%. The other condition is that they want us to pay money by December the 20th. And
This year?
This year, and the plan was that
Like tomorrow.
Bedford Heights would go online first, followed by Bedford because they're smaller, and then Garfield Heights, and then Maple Heights last because, you know, or Garfield Heights last, one or the other, because one's bigger than the other, but the bigger goes last. And I said, well, again, we're not going to pay you any money until we go online. So there's some snags and some problems there.
makes sense.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
To the mayor, who's doing the negotiating
For what?
for the group of people for this dispatch centers?
There really isn't a negotiator.
Well, who's making the decisions on percentages and who goes first and?
Well, Bedford Heights got the original almost $1 million from the federal government. They got 900 and, you know, almost $1 million. And then the county came in with some money, and then they came in with some money later for radios. But this originally, Councilman, was supposed to be in Bedford Hospital, University Hospital. And somebody over in the end of the negotiating on this side blew that deal up, and then the Chagrin Valley Dispatch Center ended up going in there. So somehow we ended up in Bedford Heights City Hall, which is a real sore subject because they're keeping their people there in their building, and they're getting they will get the money for payroll taxes when all the dispatchers work there. We Garfield Heights and Bedford would lose that. And they're also getting, you know, fees on construction permits because they had to renovate and remodel the entire lower level of Bedford Heights City Hall. So they're really, in my opinion, they ate the cake and now they're coming back for the crumbs.
I thought I remember hearing that all the dispatchers in all the communities were all going to have to reapply,
They did.
but they're keeping all theirs.
Well, they're keeping some of them, but no matter who they pick from Garfield, Maple, and Bedford, since they will work in Bedford Heights, they are keeping all of those payroll taxes.
Oh, the taxes,
Yeah.
the people.
Yeah, they keep all the payroll tax. We realize payroll taxes. We're gonna lose. Bedford loses, Garfield Heights loses.
How much did they gain?
I don't have that exact figure because it hasn't been provided to me, to any of us. But true regionalism, as you all know or should know, is a split equal, not a third here. You pay an eighth, you pay a quarter, you pay 2/3. It's split equally. That's the true meaning of regionalism. When you share assets or go into new ventures.
Okay, but we do have some time to go over that,
Well, it's not, they're not even going, they don't even know when they're gonna throw the switch yet.
right?
And who knows if they throw the switch, what's gonna happen? Could be like a Frankenstein movie of a Brana. You know what happened last week when they threw the wrong switch and the siren went off, right?
Yeah, I heard about it.
Well, we all heard it.
Over and over again.
And that was done in Bedford Heights.
Irene, more?
Yes, on page 2, all the little picture strip lines, under the senior services, it's about middle way of the page,
They had a fire. Call Beagle.
3,500, you see that?
Oh.
Okay, the salary and wages, that change that we did due to the fundraising was to add back the food pantry staff, which is about $12,000 per salary. Okay. The other change is on page 3. Based on discussion that we had, and Mr. Jackson had brought it up, the home delivered columns had no dollars, so I just moved dollars. It didn't increase the budget, it just moved from the senior, Mrs. Vopak, because actually she'll be sharing that position. So I just split the senior, moved some of the expenses here, but it didn't affect the bottom line. So now there's something showing under the home delivered program. Okay, page 4. Towards the bottom, legal. There was 75,000 in the last budget. 35,000 was removed, and basically those were sort of like one-time extraordinary expenses. The 40,000 that's sitting there now represents pretty much the negotiation fees for the fire contract. So I just left them there for the police is upcoming. But we removed those special attorney fees that we had around the levy and some other things. Okay, the next page, 5, lands and building. We added to lands and building one of the rec staff. If you remember, we had removed all of the recreation department. Mr. Lowe is added back to this budget under lands and buildings, since he'll be doing general custodial kinds of stuff and groundkeeping and that. So Mr. Lowe was added to this.
He's gone to full-time then?
No, it was the same as he was, I think it was part-time. So it was the same rate in hours that he had for this year. And that's it. So on page 5, you'll see the revised general fund, which went up probably a net of about $66,110 roughly. That has increased. So now we have a surplus in the general fund of about $158,892. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Where's that last number associated with?
I'm sorry,
What page is that number on?
the 158
Yes.
is not on a page, it's the revenue minus the expense.
Okay.
So it's on page 6 of the expenses, it's 11,151,000 on the bottom of page 5, 6. And that's subtracted from the revenues of 11,309,986 on page 2 of the estimated resources. And if you remember last time, there was a $30,000 gap. So the $30,000 gap plus the $66,000 of additional expenses, about $97,000 that had to increase. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Looks better than it did last week.
Well, like I said, numbers change every day, so.
Great, okay.